Hi everybody, Refresh here, and let's talk about Aether Revolt Prerelease, which I went to Saturday, January 14th. And let's talk about what I opened, what I made, and then we'll talk about how it went. First up, what I opened. So most of my cards were not very good. There's two real cards of note that I didn't play. One of them is the Quicksmith Rebel, which was pretty cool, but red was a little bit on the light side. And these are a lot of the other cards that I opened that I did not play. So there's nothing particularly impressive. I actually arrived to pre-release a little bit late and only had about 10 minutes to put together a deck. Fortunately, it kind of came together very quickly. The other card of note that I opened that I did not play was this Sphere of Resistance, which sort of paid me back for going to the pre-release altogether. This will probably pay for a little bit more than that, and that's a nice little bonus that I got, but did not play this because it doesn't really work in the deck that I ended up putting together in 10 minutes. That deck is this one. So I got two Glincy Siphoners, which gets me a drawing engine going and lets me play in black, where I actually got most of my removal. So it's a green-black deck, and there's both an energy sub-theme and an artifact counter sub-theme, and a artificer sub-theme, because I have a lot of artificers here, so I thought I'd put in the Inventor's Goggles to get some benefit out of that. In addition to that, there's an Aetherborn sub-theme. Now, it's really minor. I didn't really choose to play these cards because of Aetherborns, but I had 6 Aetherborns, and then the Midnight Entourage, which gives them all a bonus, and also lets me draw a card and lose a life when one of them die. So that sort of gives me a lot of card draw in this, along with the Glincy Siphoners. And then I got some fixing, more energy. The energy gets used for the turret, it gets used for Architect of the Untamed to get the 6/6 creature tokens, and Pima Aetherseer to kind of force bad blocks. I also have a way of creating a few artifacts amongst this batch, which I can sacrifice to the Ironclad Revolutionary or the Defiant Salvager to get them a little bit stronger. So, you know, whether I make servo tokens off to fabricate on this guy or this guy or this guy. This is also pretty good for inevitability, I think. So I put this in because eventually, like, this thing doesn't get interacted with and can break a stalled board state by eventually using the energy that I generate to blow stuff up. And then I have removal, Fatal Push, Tidy Conclusion, 2 cool finalities. I mainboarded this because I feel like there's always going to be an artifact in one of these sealed decks, and then High Spire Infusion for a bit of a trick, plus additional energy to get one of my energy cards going. So that's a deck that I built. I think it was actually pretty good for the fact that I had to put it together in 10 minutes. I only made a couple minor changes afterwards, and these are the cards in color that I didn't use. I had the Fed Crawler early on at the top of the curve to sort of be the big guy, but I think I didn't really need it. I had Druid of the Cowl in for a bit, and I found that the ramp wasn't particularly good. I had the Filigree Crawlers in for a little while because I thought that the sacrifice would be helpful if I stack it to things, or at least just create some sort of value out of it. But in the end, I also got a third Ironclad Revolutionary, but of course I'm not going to do that. So that was the deck that I built, and I didn't do very well. I went 0-4. I didn't win a single game. I actually got crushed on the vast majority of the games, minus the very first game. So, we're gonna talk about the games. The very first match I played against a blue-black deck. The match went along pretty evenly, as you can tell from the score sheet here. And we stayed fairly even. I was a little bit behind most of the game, but we stayed pretty even up until the very end when my opponent cast Baral's Expertise, removed all my blockers, and came in for an alpha strike, and that was the end of me. In the second game, I was much more behind. I was barely holding on, and I was trying to stabilize, but it was not going particularly well. And then my opponent again played Baral's Expertise, removed my creatures, and then hit me really hard. And then from there on, I could only play cards to hold the fort, basically. And then eventually, this happened.
17 to 12.
All right, go ahead.
Attack for 4.
All right, well, in response, Fatal Push.
In response, negate.
And I die.
The second game was a bit of a blowout. We stayed pretty even for the first few turns, but I kind of got stuck on the wrong mana and I couldn't cast most of the things from my hand, and then he built up his board and I had nothing because I had to keep putting the few things that I cast in the way to keep myself alive, and I was just destroyed. So that was the end of that. In the second match, I played against a white-black deck. It had Revolt and had Flyers, and I kind of just started behind and just stayed behind, and eventually I started drawing into lands that were doing nothing for me. And so I couldn't keep up with his Flyers. I mean, I had the ground fairly well covered, but again, I couldn't keep up with the Flyers, and the Flyers went over me and finished me off, and no removal for them. I mean, I did cast removal on some of his threats, but there's not much I could do, and I lost. The third match was against a white-green deck, and again, I just got removed. My threats got removed, my opponent kept smashing in, I couldn't draw anything to sort of stabilize, and finished off my ambitious Aetherborn, which was sort of holding the ground, and then just came in for the win. And so that was the end of me there. And then my opponent sideboarded, and he actually switched out his deck entirely with a red-black deck. And that one I actually started out doing okay against. We were going evenly, but as soon as he played the Herald of Anguish, it was pretty much over for me. He kind of like got rid of my guys and flew through the air and murdered me pretty hard. And I didn't really have much I could do. Died pretty badly there too. So down all those games, I went into my final match against a gent who was playing his first pre-release. And in this match, I went up against a Boros deck. It was pretty aggressive. I think we started off pretty evenly again, and then I just could not keep up. He kept drawing threats, I kept losing guys, and eventually he got me with a pretty big swing to a very, very precarious place, and from there on all I could do is be on the defense, and I thought I was going to sort of turn the game around, but he did this.
Here's
Yes.
what's happening.
Okay.
So, the bird,
Yeah.
he's a 3/3 creature. He's going to crew Heart of Kieran.
Yep.
Kieran's now a
Creature.
So then, I'm going to pay these 3 to do an acrobatic maneuver
Uh-huh.
to exile the bird
Yep.
and bring it back to my hand. Exile it. and then bring it
Exile.
back out.
Comes back.
All right.
Then these two are
And now
pumped.
they're pumped.
Okay.
So 5/5
5/5
flying and 2/2 vigilance.
Okay.
They're both attacking you.
All right. I'm gonna put the servo in front of
Also,
this.
it's instant. I get to draw a card.
That's true. Okay. So I'm gonna put the servo in front of the servo, and then I'm going to cast this Cruel Finality to make that a 3/3 so I don't die.
Okay.
And I will scry, and I will put this card right on top, and then I will pass the turn to you.
Okay. Before
Or-
the turn is over.
Okay.
I'm going to play these 2. Instant. You're at 1 life. Is that correct?
Yes, I am at 1 life.
Okay. Harness lightning at you directly.
Wow.
And that is it.
Finally, my very last game, the one chance I was hoping to sort of get a win before I went down. And this time, we started off fairly evenly again, but he stabilized faster than me and just got more guys than me. And eventually, the Heart of Kiran was sort of the card that did me in, just flying over my guys. And there's this bird that kept pumping his guys, and he played this weird trickery to pump out his guys and bounce his bird and pump his guys again, and came after me and destroyed me. And that was the end of the 4 games. I think overall, my experience with the pre-release was decent. I mean, it's hard not to feel pretty good when you get one of these, but I ended up losing pretty badly all the games, and that didn't feel quite as good. The pre-release itself, aside from the games and the openings, I really like the set. It's a lot of fun to play. The pre-release box is the same as the one from Kaladesh, so it's got this press a button and open the thing. You also get a sticker for getting a pre-release pack. Now this is not all that cool. I kind of wish that we got the tokens that were in the Eldritch Moon again, except, you know, maybe with a Thopter and a servo on each side or something like that. So this is kind of boring. It's not that interesting. If the set weren't so good, I don't think this would have been that impressive of a pre-release, but the set was quite good. So, you know, you didn't really get any particular goodies, but you had a good time playing, and sometimes you open up a really nice card. And so I think overall I had a pretty good time, and we'll probably be playing again.